Hey guys, I don't know what YouTube is doing to me. It seems every single Saturday it wants to drop my live stream about the same time. But what's this? I'm up. There's some more eggies. Because this is not the first time my live stream is dropped, and it always seems to be just a couple minutes after 11:15. I was actually standing with my hand getting an egg for Max when we dropped. Super frustrating. But we restarted, and I'm just going to send a message in the comments. Hopefully everybody's able to rejoin. Live dropped. Restarted. Please join us. So I'm really not sure why it keeps dropping. I know Einstein occasionally has some problems too, but usually when Einstein has a problem, it just lags for a few minutes and then picks up. Although Marcia had a problem a few weeks ago when her live dropped, or when her live would not stop at the end of her stream, and she had to reach out to YouTube for help for that one. So I think weird things do happen. Hey Max, would you like some more? Some more tasty eggies? Sugar trout. Yes, Tico, I hear you. Here you go. Tico. Yummers. Definitely weird. So, since I've got everybody here in the chat, maybe you can chime in on something. I don't know if this one's a time issue or what, but it seems to happen at the similar time every single Saturday. I'm thinking about shifting the time of the live stream. And I want you to tell me what works best for you. Like if we shift it by even 15 minutes, does it work maybe if we start at 11:15? Is that a good time for everybody? Think about it. Let me know what you think. 11:15, go until 12:15 maybe. Uh-oh, we got another Spidey for Max. Now those Spideys are not long for this world. He just goes after all of the legs very methodologically. He does not want Spideys to have legs, plastic or non. So, yeah, we're getting some really good feedback. Einstein, I see that you've joined the feed. Fantastic. Yeah. You guys, if you ever notice that our feed drops and you're in the chat, feel free to let people know that we're going to restart. Especially if you see the new one happen, get in their comments so that people know what's going on. I mean, it really helps. I noticed we still have a couple of people watching the other one. I just updated the comments there. But yeah, so we've got a lot of real openness here on timing. Yeah, Tango, it wasn't just you, it was us as well. Greenbird is back, French Paul's back. Yeah, and absolutely, Tango. It seems to do it at the same spot. The first few times that it happened, I thought it was absolutely my fault. It's like, oops, I must have hit a button. I must have done something weird. When I'm half a room away from the camera, I can guarantee you it wasn't me doing something weird. So, maybe we'll shift the time next week by 15 minutes and see what happens. We have the time change happening here as well. That happens in Canada and the States this weekend, so that one's going to be quite interesting. Yeah, so Einstein, I don't know if you caught earlier, but we were talking about trick or tweet. And that is a special video that we decided to release for Halloweird. It was a last minute idea that we would have some of the extended flock come trick or tweeting at our place. Now, it obviously had to be a little bit virtual, but it was a lot of fun. So we did a trick or treat video, and that one is premiering right after this at 12:15 our time. Basically, if you're not sure what that is your time, just take a look at the clock, and when it's 1/4 the next hour, that's when we're premiering. So hang around after this video. We got a lot of fun. As I was mentioning, we've got a lot of familiar faces. Greenbird is there, Tango is there, Einstein is there. So we have a lot of flockers that we all know and love joining us. So Tango Elliott says, but if you went in the other direction, it would be better for us. So Tango Elliott's suggesting maybe a little bit earlier. Yeah, we could absolutely do that. You know, I'm going to take a look at some of the comments across the week on the video, and I will, you know, as usual, I'll post up the video and I'll post up something in the community to let everybody know what time it's going to be. We'll make sure that we overlap our regular time. Yeah, and I don't know either if moving on the schedule is going to change something. The reason I'm thinking it might be time related is it seems to be about 15 minutes into the stream. At that hour, it drops. Second stream does not usually drop 15 minutes in, so I'm not being limited on the time of my stream. It is just doing the spooky dance. So, okay, Greenbird says, we just wait for the Fester Keel. You won't get rid of us. Well, I'm super, super glad to hear that. Restart autocorrect. Yes, auto defect gets us all the time here. What was that? Yes, we've got some Halloweird sound effects running in the background. So very, very cool. Tango Elliott actually says no later. For me, it's 1 p.m. when you start. Could you do 1:15 instead of 12:45? Okay. Good to know. Lots of comments here. Yeah, it really is super, super good to see everybody here. Yeah, the soundtrack is startling Max a little bit. It is a little bit spooky. Hey, Max, I've got an idea. Can I take away the papers? Yeah, those were the Aggie papers. Would you like a box of bricks? A box of blocks? A box of blocks? Now, Max, you know how box of blocks works. It's coming in. It's coming in. Scooch. You gotta climb up here. Come on, climb up. Climb up. Climb up. There you go. There you go. There we go. A box of blocks. And definitely time to get involved here. Oops. Max, you shouldn't throw blocks when my head's down. You might hit me. I call that one an eviction notice for sure. That one made quite a sound. Flying blocks all over. Yes, French Paul, you're right. Max was saying, get out of my my toy box, you skeletal creature. You don't belong there. It's definitely part of the Halloweird thing. Would you like a green one? Yes, matey, there certainly is a bird in this live stream. There's a couple of parrot skeletons too. We have Skinny and Spooky and Who, although a few of them have been having some flying lessons. Life's a Journey, Let It Go says, I love this bird. We love the fact that you're here too, so super, super cool to see you. Always exciting. So did I just see Mookie join us? Mookie, I'm always super, super happy to see you. Yes, blocks is definitely a favorite game. Yeah, Mookie's here, Connie. The blocks are only, what did we say? Connie said the blocks are only from Max, not for skinny looking parrots. Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, I don't know if Max has noticed yet, but if you look up, way up, he's being supervised. He seems to be ignoring that, Skinny. But yes, we've got some blocks for you, Max. Definitely a fun game. And Max, I mean, it depends what mood he's in, what he wants to play with any given day. Sometimes blocks are his thing, sometimes cardboard's his thing, sometimes snacks, sometimes pumpkins, as we saw at the start of today's stream. Yeah, there's a special block, buddy. Oh, yeah. Yeah, it doesn't seem to want flying lessons. Yeah, we play fetch, then we play chew, then we play toss, then we find another good one to chew. You know, a few of them are definitely getting a bit chewed on, but that is why we buy the blocks anyhow. Hey, look at that. Yeah, you've got a plastic toy. Now, I don't worry about these plastic toys too much. They are bought to play with. That one is actually one of Tico's. Tico likes to pull them apart. Apparently Max wants to chew them apart. And I mean, that's perfectly fine. It's, you know, it's keeping him busy. He is being supervised. This is not the kind of toy that I would put in the cage unsupervised. He's figuring out how to pull the pieces apart. He's definitely feeling destructive today, but all good toys for parrots are toys that are destroyed. So yeah, it gives him a lot of diversity, a lot of different activities to do and try. So he's done with that one. Oh, well, that didn't work. Here you go. Here you go. Yeah! Give that one a munch. Yes, yes. You fetch, you chew, you munch, you fling. I mean, that's all part of being a bird. Yes, Cheryl, and actually, a great comment there. So long as you know he's not actually eating it. Birds are actually pretty smart. They understand what's food and what's not. I mean, they know that plastic is to chew, not to eat. They know wood is to chew, not to eat. But it's still something that I'm going to supervise when the bird is playing with it, just to make sure that nothing bad is happening, that he's not suddenly deciding that maybe today he's going to try to eat something he shouldn't. I don't worry about wood so much, but I do worry sometimes a little bit about plastics. So even the plastic Spidey that he had earlier, I made sure that I was paying close attention while he was chewing on it. Oh, sis. You gonna grab the orange one? Orange. Yeah, I mean, and he's going to splinter it. He's going to have some fun. You threw red to me. Would you like red back? 1, 2, 3, red. Oh, here it comes. Red. Yeah, but when you fling it over there, I can't reach it. Or was that the point? You didn't want me tossing it back? You said you were done with that one. Hi, Erin. Super glad that you're back. Aw, thank you, Mookie. Max certainly has fun with things. You know, he knows he's handsome and he plays on it. He is actually a born actor. I put a camera on him. He knows how to entertain. I mean, you've seen Tico on live stream sometimes. Tico just glares at the camera. He's not a huge fan of the paparazzi birdie. And, you know, Tico will actually wait for the camera to move before he does something. Whereas Max will, when the camera's pointed at him, he'll start doing stuff, start having fun. Here's something cool you might not realize. Max thinks he should behave for the camera. If he gets super loud and screamy in the evening, sometimes it happens. Sometimes it really gets on your nerves. I've occasionally grabbed the camera and walked over to him to see if I could catch it on film. As soon as he sees the camera, shh, he's done. He's going to behave himself, and he looks and says, oh, am I on film? Am I acting? Yeah, he's a little bit of a brat that way. Ho ho! So Life's a Journey says, I have 3 cockatiels. I wanted a cockatoo, but they live so long, and I didn't want to take the chance if anything happened to me. And then where would the bird go? Beautiful, smart birds. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And yes, Cheryl, Max is definitely a ham. And oh, so helpful. I mean, he knows I love picking up blocks, obviously, because I do it so often. Right, Max? There we go. A little bit of a better view inside the box. Yes. Now, actually, Life's a Journey, that's actually a really, really valid point. Because certainly birds can live a long time, especially the larger parrots. Moluccans can live 80, 100 years. You know, African greys, 50 to 60 years. Timney African greys are a little bit shorter lived, usually 40 to 50 years. But one of our flock friends, Gonzo the Great, is 61 and still going strong. You know, he's not as strong as he used to be. He's getting tired a lot easier. He's fairly frail, and he does have cancer. But I mean, he's had a very long life, and he's a very, very old man. You know, he's well outlived his expected lifespan. But it's certainly something you have to plan for. Our friend Gonzo, he is on his 3rd Uman. He was, his first Uman passed away a number of years ago. He went to live with another Uman. That one didn't work out quite as well. You know, he never really did forget that other Uman for taking him away from his first Uman when she passed. I mean, he witnessed it. It was kind of traumatic for him. But when he met Lori, he decided that life was pretty good, and he got along pretty good with her, and her daughter became part of the flock, and he's just been living his best life. So absolutely. But I mean, there's always going to be somebody that can provide for the bird. There are people who will happily rehome an older bird. I know if I were adopting another bird today, I would look at an older bird. With my own age, I mean, I'm not super old, but, you know, I'm a bit older than Max. He could very easily outlive me, so I have to put him in my will. I have to make plans for him. I have to take care of him. And there are a lot of sanctuaries out there. There are a lot of parrot rescues. There are a lot of wonderful groups. In Calgary, we have Calgary Parrot Club. They do a great service of helping rehome birds. And it's not just about finding a home, putting a bird in it. It's about finding a home, vetting the home, and making sure it's a good match for both the bird and the Uman. And that is just so very, very important. You know, they definitely do become flock members. You know, I saw a comment that I thought was just absolutely apt. And I'm just looking for it, and I think it was Connie who said, he's a ham. And Greenbird said, Max has us wrapped right around his tail. And yeah, life is a journey. Absolutely. And I mean, you know, you never know what's going to happen. I mean, somebody who's 20 might not make it until they're 21. Somebody who's mid 40s might live to 90. But, you know, it's something that we can never predict as humans. So making sure that the bird has a plan if anything happens to you, who would take care of the bird, where would it go, especially important if you are single. You know, if you're married, odds are pretty good that one of you will be around and able to make some additional plans for the bird. But, you know, it certainly take a moment, put the bird in your will, make sure that you've talked to people, you've got a plan for how will that bird be dealt with after something happens. And if something happens, you know, is there somebody in your life who will take charge of that bird and help make sure that they get rehomed the way you would want them rehomed. You know, I certainly have a few people who would do that for me. You know, while I really respect and trust the local parrot club, I would probably want final word to go to one of our extended flock in Calgary, because they know Max and they've got a pretty good understanding of, you know, really what I want for him. So that's kind of cool. Max is on his second home. I met Max when he was 10 years young. He's now 26. And so I've had him for 16 years. And honestly, it doesn't seem nearly that long. Chico the Gray has been with me almost as, well, actually a lot longer than Max. He is almost 25. I always have to stop and do the math. So he's 24 right now, but I've had him since he was 6 months old. You know, definitely I am his person. I am his chosen home. French Paul says that he's seen videos of cockatoos celebrating birthdays in their 80s. Still gorgeous and very lively. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And just like people, I mean, some people live to be 100. It may not be usual, but there are always some people who live longer than others. Same with the flock. Connie says, I'm going to read that as a cockatiel, for 20 years, along with my gray, but they died 10 years ago. My gray Vasco is now 40. That is absolutely fantastic, Connie. So you're at least, I'm assuming Vasco then, you've had, if I'm reading that right, you've had him for 30 years. I mean, that's a very, very long time, but they definitely do become part of the flock and part of the home. Hey, Max, you're looking a little bit tired. Did I keep you up late last night? I know, you heard me upstairs and you decided to call out and suggest that maybe it was playtime at about 4 in the morning. I kind of ignored him, he quieted down, but definitely not a time I want a bird saying, hey, let's get vocal, let's play. Green. I've got another green. Green. Traded it for blue. There's green. And it's probably a good idea I'm sitting over here. Max, I have green. Green. Thank you. I have another green. Oops, wrong way. Green. Woohoo! Look at you. That was green with scalloped edges, wasn't it? Green. Oh boy. Green. Green. Oh, I gotta lean over and really reach for that one. Orange. Green. Orange, can you toss an orange? Oh, that one's red. That one's red. That's just a big enough stick. There's a blue. Blue. Red. Red. Oh, there's another fun stick. Yeah. Yeah, let's make a few toothpicks while we're at it. Yeah, so Connie says she agrees that Grays are gorgeous and smart, and says that hers is blind for about 5 years, but still a goofball. Absolutely. I mean, birds, there's all sorts of ailments that they can suffer from. They can get cataracts. Some of them do lose their sight. And I mean, they can still have a great life, even if they have diminished sight. Can't exactly get them to wear a pair of glasses to improve sight. And there are some options for cataract surgery for birds. But, if the bird ends up starting to go blind, I mean, there's certain things you do. You make sure that there's a bit of a routine. You don't move things around the cage. You start communicating a lot more vocally. And, I mean, it's very much like dealing with an human who's blind, right? I mean, in the wild, it would really be a death sentence for a bird. But in captivity, when they're living with a flock with a pet human, they can actually make it work quite well. Yeah, Max, you're being super cute. Yeah, Max is beginning to learn some of his colors. Tico can do colors, he can do shapes, and Tico can also mix the two. Tico does not like doing so on camera, but if I'm holding up a couple of baby lynx, no, I don't have any within reach right now, but those little plastic lynx that you use for babies that are different shapes, I'll use those to play shapes with Tico. And I'll ask him for red or for green or for a circle or a triangle or a square. And what's super, super cool is once he gets into that, then I'll ask him for a red triangle. And I might offer him a green triangle and a red triangle, and he'll pick the right one, the right color and the right shape. Now, when playing this game, I try to not pay a lot of attention to what I'm holding in my hands so that I'm not doing something such as holding one further out and showing him which one to pick. I want to make sure that he's picking it by himself. And I'll ask him which one it is. And quite a few years ago, he proved to me that he knew exactly how the game worked, and he understood that I was trying to trick him. Spoiler alert, I was not trying to trick him. I asked him, I can't quite remember what color and shape combo it was, but let's say I asked him for the yellow square. I asked him for that, and I was trying not to pay attention to what I was holding. Clearly, I didn't pay attention to the fact I had a yellow triangle and a red square. So I asked him for a yellow square, and he looked at me, and he's just like, hey, buddy, we're not done the game yet. I know you got a short attention span. Give me a yellow square, and you'll get a treat. He looked at me. He looked at one of the toys. He looked at the other toy. And I mean, I'm looking at him. I'm trying not to pay any attention to what I've got in my hands. Clearly, I did a great job of that because eventually he just looked at me. And he put his back to me and just walked onto his cage, had a tray on top of his cage. And it was higher than I was. I couldn't see on top of it. He grabbed a yellow square from that and he flung it at me. I mean, if his aim would have been a bit better, he would have beaten me right between the eyes, but he was annoyed. And he just winged this yellow square at me. Now, I looked at him as if to say, well, what the heck? You usually don't throw stuff at me quite like that. You look kind of upset. And then I looked at what I had in my hands. I was holding a yellow triangle and a red square, and I certainly didn't have what I'd asked him for. And he solved that. Not only did he recognize that he couldn't pick out what I'd asked for. He couldn't solve the combination of color and shape. He found a creative way to solve it and a creative way to tell me that he was annoyed with me about it. So that was the day that I knew for sure that he understood the game, and it was not that he was reading body language, not just getting lucky. He actually understood the combination of color and shape. So I think that one is really, really cool. So I do play shapes with the birds sometimes and colors. Max is not super great at playing colors, although with the blocks, we've started playing a bit more color, and he's recognizing the color of the blocks. You noticed earlier when I was tossing a block, he would toss the exact same block right back at me. And I've started identifying verbally what color that is to help him make an association, learn his colors. And Max not nearly as bright as Tico. I will be the first person to admit that, but he's quite capable of learning some of his colors. Yeah, I'm doing some fun stuff with him as well, with some children's books, and there's a group out there reading birds, and they've actually done some really great work in teaching birds not only how to read, but how to do some writing. And part of it is teaching them that the symbols have meaning and sitting down and reading to the birds. So I've picked up a few children's books, and I've been doing some work with both Tico and Max, and they're beginning to understand that they can touch the book, they cannot eat the book. Subtle difference here. That the different shapes in the book have relevance when I'm asking them what to identify. And it's a fun way for them to sit down and really have a little bit of fun. Yeah, that is, isn't it, Max? You know, I did pick up one Halloween book that I thought would be kind of fun. It was a book of short stories, 5-minute stories. Actually, I got the wrong grade level for the flock. Pictures really don't have the kind of shapes that I can ask them to identify just yet. It's a little bit complex for them, but they still do enjoy having it read to them. I think there's something about, sitting down. They watch me reading books all the time, and they love to be part of it. You know, I've been known to be sitting in front of the parrots reading a trade journal. You know, I'm in the room, they're in the room, and they want some attention, and they explain that to me. So I keep reading my trade journal. And when calculating risk on cloud-based systems, such as AWS, or, they learn all sorts of cool stuff. Sometimes they don't even care what I'm talking about, just that I'm talking slowly, I'm talking expressively, and I'm talking to them. I make eye contact, and they feel part of it. And I mean, that can be really, really important. Tico hates it when I'm just sitting reading a novel and not paying attention to him. I've actually gotten chomped for that before. So he lost his chair sitting privileges with me. If I'm reading, he's sitting on a perch, not on my chair. If I'm reading a book, we'll have to sit together if I'm reading a book for him. But if I'm just reading a novel, he gets really territorial sometimes and says, "Hey, pay attention to me. Now that you're bleeding, do you think I have your attention?" Well, you do, but not in a good way. Cheryl says, where we adopted our birds from, it's part of the adoption agreement that they go back there if anything happens to us. We have it in our will just in case. And that, Cheryl, absolutely fantastic. There are a lot of really, really good rescues out there, and they do put in that clause on rescue that if something happens, or if you, rather than you rehoming the bird, they ask you to return the bird to them. And there's a couple of reasons for that. Number one, by putting it in there, it keeps people from flipping. And it keeps somebody from going in to rescue that cute bird from the rescue, paying $500 for it and turning around and selling it for $2,000 and participating in the pet flipping trade. And it also means that they know that bird has been found a good home, and if something happens, they can find them another good home. And it's not so much control, it's more looking out for the parrot. So that is super, super important and super, super good. Yeah, so Connie's talking about her blind gray and says, he does not have trouble with it at all. He trusts me blind, and I guess just figures it out. Yes, Mookie, lots of love here. Absolutely. We all love the flock. We love the extended flock. We are definitely enjoying it. Emily says Max is still handsome. Today is her first live stream. Big, big welcome for Emily. Guys, send up some love for Emily. Wave at her, send some hearts. Yeah. Blue Sprite Lucy Linus says, big favor. Could you tell Lucy that he can't come out when the dogs are out? He's not listening to human or other birds. Lucy, dogs and cats can be really, really dangerous. They could hurt you very easily, and there have been a lot of cases where other pets have injured a bird, even if they've been living together for years. Cats can be especially dangerous. And you might think, Max with a cat, Max would probably get the upper end. If a cat tried something, cat would run away holding his nose bleeding and need a few stitches. Quite likely. Yeah, but the big problem is cats can be very hazardous to birds. Cat saliva, so if the cat scratches the bird or bites the bird, you can actually have some bacteria that can just be deadly to the bird, and it can happen oh so quickly. And if you've got cats, have you ever been scratched by your cat? He didn't mean to. It can happen in a flash. So it's a really good idea to keep them apart. Dogs, no matter how tame they are, they still have a bit of a prey drive. Something startles them. Something can happen very, very quickly. And one thing we all know about the parrots and birds, they're wild animals. They've only been domesticated for a relatively short period of time, and they have all of the wild instincts. Something startles them, they're going to react. I had a pair of lovebirds as my first birds, and they were super, super well behaved. They would sit on my neck all the time. I had something startle them. I think it was the sound of a hawk crowing on TV. One bird pecked at the other bird. The other bird pecked at me. Now, when he pecked at me, he actually bit me on the neck pretty hard. And both birds flew away. They were trying to tell me, hey, danger, get moving, wake up. There's something here. And it was just pure instinct. I don't think that bird intended to bite me. I was a little bit surprised. I was eating breakfast at the time. I was not a happy camper. But that was just instinct. It wasn't, I'm going to go bite you, but it was like, hey, wake up. We got to do something. Now, as a human, I've got a little bit more control. But if say he was sitting beside the dog and tried that, the dog would probably turn around and chomp right back without even thinking. It's natural, right? So really, really important to be careful when mixing pets. You'll notice that Max and Tico are never on the same perch together. They do get a bit territorial. They have cages side by side. They've occasionally been together, but they speak very different body language, and they actually prefer to have their own space. Tico is much more into Amazons like Tikal. They speak similar body language. They tend to get along a little bit more. Max is into other Moluccans like Q. They do recognize sort of the species. And, like humans, we don't like everybody that we hang around with. We pick and choose who we want to hang around with. But there is a bit of a species divide. Not to say that different species can't be friends. These Max and Tico are friends in a very, very different way. They don't share perches. They don't preen each other. In an emergency, I don't think that they would hurt each other. They do know each other, but they're really not into sharing space together. Max will watch Tico chomping a few blocks. He'll eat blocks in solidarity, but he'll get pretty upset if Tico thought that he was going to sit there and help himself to some of the blocks out of Max's box. So similar species, but not the same. So yeah, so much wonderful comments here. Yes, E. Schwartz says, twos throw things with such flair. Oh, absolutely. Flinging things is part of the fun. And you can't see it right now, but I've probably got about 30 or 40 blocks on the floor, including a bunch behind furniture that I have to dig up and pull out. Life is a Journey, Let It Go asks, does Max still get hormonal? Oh boy, does he ever. Right now, it's spring somewhere, and Max understands spring. Max thinks that it's time to encourage my left arm to lay an egg. Hey, we got to be careful how we word things around here. There might be the younger set listening, but I think you guys know what I mean. Big wink. So what he'll do at night is, usually around 7 or 8 at night, he'll suddenly decide that he wants to sit on my arm, and he'll start to do the dance. And you know the dance. He's going to hold on tight to my arm, and he's going to try and position himself so he can encourage my arm to lay an egg. Yeah, I really don't need a bird trying to mate with my arm. You know, he's tried it with my leg before, gave up on that because the leg was not being very helpful. So he tries this, and what I do is, you know, it's non-appropriate behavior. I try to distract him. He can have a one-track mind, but I'll also turn my arm and angle it so that he cannot get contact with his vent, which is what he's trying for. And he'll try for a couple minutes and he'll get bored and he'll give up. But at that point, when he's being hormonal and trying to mate with my arm, I have to be very careful what happens and what I do. You know, he could very easily bite at that point. You know, he is not really thinking with the head beside his beak. Let's put it that way. I mean, he has a one-track mind. Everybody who has parrots knows that this happens. Even if you have smaller birds, lovebirds, they've got a strong drive to procreate. It's something that you just know about. And if you interrupt them at that moment the wrong way, you will get bitten and they will get aggressive. I mean, they're just trying to propagate the species. Actually, last year we did up a video, posted a video that was super, super funny. It's called The Meaning of Life, and it's starring Tico the Gray. If you haven't seen it, make sure you check it out. I'll try and remember to post it up on the community page this week. But what happened, Tico was eating an egg in the half shell, and Tico, you know, he's had hard-boiled eggs in the half shell before. It flipped over on him, and it was on the ground of the cage, and he looked at it, and you could just see the lights flashing behind his eyes, and he just went calculating. I now understand the meaning of life. I understand what I'm supposed to do with this egg. And poor Tico was confused. He couldn't decide if he should eat it or try to hatch it. It was a half an egg. He was not going to get very far trying to hatch it, but you could really, really see the instincts kick in. And even though I've lived with him, you know, his entire life, watching, you know, when you watch the insects kick in like that and you see them acting like that and just being driven by that little brain that says, I know exactly what to do with this. So like the first time I gave Tico a drumstick, you know, it had a nice big bone in it. He looked at it, he rolled it around, and his eyes flashed. You could just see him saying, calculating, accessing ancestral memory. He knew to rip off the knuckle bone and zip right into the marrow. He'd never seen one before in his life. I'd never given him one before. It took him a few minutes to figure out, but he had to think about it, but he knew what to do. And it's super, super cool just to watch instinct there. Yeah. Oh, they are definitely amazingly intelligent. Oh, so Cheryl talks a bit here about Jennifer Kunhan, says she's been going to her workshops too. That's absolutely fantastic. Thank you, Cheryl. I couldn't think of Jennifer's name, and you know, she does talk about reading for moonlight, which was one of her large parrots, and she encourages people to read to their birds in memory of moonlight. Yes, board books for babies are definitely good. Yes, Greenbird, I did paint with Max in one video. He does enjoy painting. It's usually something that's really well supervised, so I don't want the bird painted. And it's certainly a winter activity. I've actually been thinking about getting him to do a bit more painting, and it'll be easier now that I've got a tripod to catch some of that on video, so definitely fun. Yeah, Max is kind of tired. He's getting ready to take a bit of a nap right now. See, Emily's joined us. Yeah, Tango Elliott says he's allergic to cats, swells up if they scratch him. Now, Tango, I'm not sure if this is your Uman who's allergic, if she's allergic, or if it's Tango who's allergic. But yeah, as a pet Uman, I'm also allergic to cats, so totally understand that. Yeah, budgies are definitely fascinating. Yeah, they can learn so much, and I think sometimes we forget to give credit to the smaller birds for how much intelligence they have and how much they can do. But they are definitely amazing creatures. If you spend some time with them, you give them opportunities for enrichment, You wish, you know, like Max, he always has something new that he can try. He has some tried and true games that we play. There's always something there. Mookie says that her cat loves Max. Super cool, Mookie. Yeah. Tango Elliott asks, do macaws get along with other birds who are not macaws? And Tango, I mean, sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. Some macaws get along with other macaws. Some macaws prefer to be on their own. I mean, it's sort of like people. You pick and choose. You know, and sometimes it depends how they've been raised. It depends how they picture the other birds. You know, are they, you know, part of the flock? Are they being territorial, maybe going after some snacks? You know, it really depends on what's going on in that little avian brain. Yeah, French Paul says, from looking at Gotcha and Letty, I feel cockatoos and kegs, Congo African greys, don't get along. You know, certainly they speak very different body language. You know, they get along, but from a distance. Yeah. So, you know, we're actually already at the hour. We did have to restart our live stream, and it's super frustrating when that happens. And it's happened to us a few times now. I'm nowhere near the camera, the phone when it happens, and it seems to restart about 15 minutes into the first live stream. So next week, I think we're going to try and shift that time just a little bit and see what happens. Tango Elliott, Max is, oh dear gosh, how old is Max? Yes, Max is 26. Thank you. I had to stop and think for a minute, do a little bit of math on my fingers. Yeah, Max, you're being super cute today. So guys, in the spirit of Halloweird, I wish everybody stays safe, stays healthy, and beware of the spook crew. Max wishes everybody a happy Halloween. Woo-hoo-hoo. Have a great week, guys.